Good evening. We're picking up where we left off last time. Kind of getting our butts kicked by a fight against two servants where we have to play as Rogue Saber instead of as Iori. Looks like we found ourselves back in time somewhere. Now, if I get my butt kicked too hard, I might do some shenanigans. But I'm hoping that approaching this, while feeling a bit more fresh, will end better. That's the hope, at least. Now, on the one hand, I'm doing pretty well right now. On the other hand, fighting Lance with Iori is not the problem. That said, not currently being tilted should hopefully do a lot for me. On the bones. Okay, this should put us into the next phase. Yes, also I was slightly under the weather on Friday. Well, like I said, hopefully I'll do a bit better now. I'm already at half health, which isn't a good sign. It's kind of difficult to keep track of everybody at once, but I'll do my best. My best was not good enough, as it seems. It's kind of the same problem that I was facing last time, where I get hit once, and then I just get comboed to death. Thank you for the headpants, though. Okay, well now I'm just getting bullied in the corner. Waited for this part. Did you turn the difficulty down? but I lived. Yeah, I do have a backup plan if I get rolled too hard by this. Yeah, go ahead. You can say what you did. If it's just like focused entirely on dodging and riposting, I've been trying. The problem is to get tagged once and then to get comboed to death. Yeah, I tried doing that to Lancer, it didn't quite work. He always gets his shell up too fast. That said, like I say, I do have a plan. Yeah, his shell's already back up. And now I get comboed. I think I'll give this like 1 or 2 more tries before I start cheating. Thanks, yeah, I'll give it 2 more tries, then I'll just drop the difficulty level. Like, this doesn't feel challenging, this feels cheap. And like, I'm not even tilted saying that. Yeah, I'm just gonna... I'm not sitting through this again. Maybe I'm a little bit tilted, but the fact that it happened so fast... It is what it is.
出番だな。我らが刃突き立てる。捉えた。
I question why I got that repost when I have not gotten others that I thought were much tighter, but I'm not complaining. Oh, that Rope Lancer's missing all of his health. Yeah, that definitely makes things a lot easier. And Assassin is dead. Excellent, now I can move on from this. Or not.
いいかい、武蔵ちゃん。無茶だけはするんじゃないよ。心配してくれてありがとう。だよね。でもあなたはあなたの覚悟を決めなさい。見切った。
Well, at least I'm still an apprentice, so this is going to take no time at all. What? Since when can Musashi do Dragon Ball Z after images? I think he's dead. R.I.P. Samson. Oh, this is the big divergence point in the story, I think. I'll put that there.
Hi.
Okay, so last time I fought Tsuchimikado, so the new thing to do would be to pursue Assassin. But like, fuck that guy in particular, so now I'll do this. I won't let Assassin escape. He must be stopped. I will stop Assassin. I hear you, Miyamoto Yori. Huh? Your Shosetsu. Your injuries. Injuries such as these are of no concern. I see. What are you doing here? You saw it as well. Assassin has become the embodiment of carnage. If his rampage continues, Edo is finished. Peace will collapse, chaos will reign. And if that happens, the world will be ever more corrupted. We must stop him now. Yes, we cannot let this carry on. You're exactly right. We have to protect the peace of Edo and its people. Thus, we must defeat Assassin.
平穏を守る
Protecting peace?
それが
This is why you compete in the ritual? It is. We must not turn away, nor sit back and allow this to happen.
そうか
I see.
ならば
In that case, Lord Miyamoto Iori, I entrust you with protecting the peace,
奴の討滅を
and with his destruction,
そして江戸に
and with
平穏
Edo's
を
tranquility. I will see it done.
ほう
Oh, that was quite touching.
うんうん
And how? She's a little cutie too. If only she were a bit younger, huh?
小説
Shosetsu, are you not coming?
あいにく今はアサシンと
Unfortunately,
渡り合
I
う
cannot
術を
currently contend with Assassin.
共
I
に
would
受
only
け
be in the
る
way.
それに私にはな
Besides,
さね
I
ば
have
なら
other
ぬこ
matters
と
to
が
attend to. I would
奴
so
を追
relish
い打ち
fighting
たい
him,
のは
but
あいわかった
understood.
邪神
Leave
の
the
征
subjugation of the
伐は
snake god to
だ
us.
そうだ
I guess that goes for me too.
最新気を
Be
配る
aware,
ことだ
the scales covering Assassin's body cannot be pierced by blade nor arrow.
ふむ
I see.
何邪
Yeah,
神とは
that's how
得て
snake
して
gods
そう
are.
いったも
I
のだ
fought one before, a pretty
かつ
tough
て
one
は
at that.
だが
But don't
案ずる
worry,
な
I shall always win.
ああ
Indeed.
貴殿の剣
With
なら
that
ば
sword, you certainly shall.
私の目が正しければ
I do believe your noble phantasm is the very sword that beheaded the snake of
ザンダ
legend.
の伝説に縁ある剣ゆえに
That will certainly kill him. Well now,
ほう
the two routes are called rat and snake. Interesting.
小説
Shosetsu figured out Saber's noble phantasm.
とはいえ奴は
That
強
being
大だ
said, he's very powerful.
真っ向
You
か
would
ら仕
best
掛けるのは
avoid head-on
避けておく
attacks.
セイバーの剣が通
Saber's
じるの
sword
とは
will
逆し
serve,
ま
but
ね
Assassin's abilities may
奴の
prove
新
equally
規のせ
effective.
忠告
Thank you for the advice. We'll be going.
行くぞより
Let's go, Iori.
さてどう切ろうかしら
I can't wait to slice that thing up.
切
Hey,
るのは
I'm the
私
one in
に
charge of
任せろ
slicing.
ドロテア・コイエット
Dorothea Koyet. It looked like she was heading south, but
横須賀じゃないかしら
what about Yokosuka? Isn't that where her workshop is?
サーバントと対峙でき
If
る
she
よう
was
な
going to face off with a servant, that'd be the place, don't you think?
なるほど
You're right.
では
Then we should go to Yokosuka as well. Our enemy is Assassin. Don't let your guard down, Iori.
二度と毒には
I
当
won't
て
be
られる
poisoned
ように
again.
するぞ
Let's go. Oh my, that tickles. They get along so well, don't they? Musashi will now accompany me. She can join me.
あれは
I still need to take this thing out, so... I'll have Musashi go out while I handle this. That is not the direction we should be heading right now. Well, never mind then. She can go get it. Never mind, she can't. Did I restore the difficulty? I don't think I did. Good catch. It's gonna bother me just a little bit that I can't get these right now. Becoming Iori,
さすがはアサシンの剣
as expected of Assassin's followers, they're using invisibility magic.
だが分かっていれば
Staying
ど
down
う
my
と
feet
いうこ
fast
と
because
は
later
ない
was gonna play harder.
切り抜け
No,
る
I can handle the difficulty just fine, just not with a servant's toolkit. It's something we can't handle. Let's cut our way through.
こっちは準備万全だぞ
Like specifically, it's fighting two servants at once with basically no resources and fuck all of her stats. That was difficult. I'll give you a hand.
よろし
Thanks
く
for the help. They give me so many allies, I won't even have to split up a saber. It amused me ever so slightly that the Musashi is the one that ended up killing people. And they're dead. That's what we call child's play. Enemies, eh? Let's proceed with caution. Look, the monsters that lost their magical energy have faded away. Yeah, this is definitely much easier when you got like 3 units going at once. Look at them there. All of them are shaving their heads. Ascetic monks. They must be heading for Todoroki Fudosen Temple. You can meditate under a waterfall there. Don't get too excited. We don't have time. Abnormal energy is coming from Kanagawa Port. We can't go around it. That's Rogue Archer. It may be the rogue servant in Kanagawa. Get ready, Iori. Right. Like it or not, we'll have to force our way through. Ah, there they are. Keep an eye out for the flow of the ley lines. It's an enemy trap. Proceed with caution. So she gotta go that way. Seriously can go that way. I'll go this way. Oh, thank you for the rotation. I kind of wonder what that man thought he was doing this evening. Oh, thank you for the hydration. Yeah, seriously handled that just fine. Thank you for the head pats. Eartharts, where are you going? What do you think you're going to accomplish? A curse. Be careful. I sense him up ahead. He seems to be encamped and waiting south of here. What a warm-hearted welcome. There's no other way to get to Yokosuka. Let us force our way through here. Right, let's do it.
次はどんな技を見せてくれるのかしら。
ミッションなんというか運悪いです。
おや、この程度のプレッシャー、私の知ってる伊織くんなら簡単に跳ねのけちゃうんだけどね。
そういうやはり姿は変わっても師匠力を借りる。
出番だな。行くぞ。
I do think it's kind of cool how Musashi is nerding out over the things that Iori's doing. And then Iori's getting self-conscious about it.
遅いな。もらった。
合図をくれ、より。
This reminds me of the time Iori was training all alone on the secluded mountain. Iori, beset on all sides by wild beasts, on the verge of tears. Oh yes, quite a moving spectacle. That other me seems to have gone through very similar training to what I did. Whatever me you see, she's still me. And whatever you ensues, that you is true too. And then I stabbed it 37 times. Rogue Archer, I never thought we would battle like this. I know it's necessary, but I am feeling somewhat guilty. My enemies shall be transfixed by my arrows. That is all. I'd hope to ask if Lady Dorothea passed through here, but you wouldn't be able to get through to him as he is now. However great a hero you may have been, you are nothing more than a rogue right now. Which means... Right, we'll deal with him quick. Huh? You really are student and teacher, Iori and Musashi? Fights against this guy always take forever, I find. hindsight, I wonder if I shouldn't have put Shell Break on my weapons instead of Void. Instead of one with the Void. Oh well, too late now. I ultimately ended up going with Void because I figured that, like, in general, having higher damage would be better. But shell gauges really are the only thing that give me pause. You have been judged, he says, and for some reason, you always freaked out. Something's changed. Be careful. Don't underestimate the rogue. I still think it's silly that that attack can hit me when I'm standing behind him. It happens like every single time. I just remember this Saber's really good at breaking shell gauges. And he's dead. Ugh. Archer, did you regain your senses? That damn Tsuchimikado, making Archer suffer like that? Rogue servants are deeply connected to a spirit font. They can't avoid his spell except for the ones that do. We must stop it at the source. First we stop Assassin, then we go straight to Tsuchimikado. Let's go. Right. I didn't want to waste any more resources, so we haven't even entered Yokosuka. Wait. You must be Iori Miyamoto? Yes. I will take you there by boat if you will help the lady. That was always my intention. I appreciate the ride. Oh, The monsters disappeared. Nice going. Okay, but like... what if I want the rest of the map? He's like, I'll take you there by boat. I'm like, cool, and then I just walk off. Thanks, but no thanks. And he's dead. Oh, there are more coming. And it's dead.
この程度、朝飯前というあれだ。
Okay, both of these need this one. Oh, I didn't even see Musashi going off. There we go. The enemy has no means to escape, and we can enter Yokosuka. What an awful sight. It seems like he destroyed everything along the way, which means he should be easy enough to track. Hold on. Looks like somebody wants to get in the way. We don't have the time for this. Then I'll handle it myself. You two follow Assassin. We leave this to you, Master. Right. I'll take care of this lickety-split. See you then. I'm in your debt. I wish you good luck. This is nothing. Press on. Suddenly Mario Kart. Wait, Saber. I have a plan for how to defeat Assassin. Oh? Remember, Shosetsu said that your sword can pierce his hide. Yes, I can't explain why, but I can certainly win against that thing. However, Shosetsu also said that Assassin's abilities will be effective against you. Then attacking him straight on is a poor strategy, which means I'll go. First, I'll go rescue Lady Dorothea by myself, then... I see your plan. You'll draw out Assassin, and I'll attack when the timing is right. Yori, you nearly died to Snake Venom once already, or did you forget? Of course not. I'm counting on you, Saber. Everything rests on your blade. That's a bit much. How can I turn you down? Oh, Yori. Fine, I'll follow your plan. But seriously, don't do anything reckless. You did a Slay the Spire run, ended on Act 3 boss with Silent. Nice. The Act 3 boss is really tough. That's... a swamp with Snake Venom. Are you okay, Yori? Yeah, I'll get through it. Be sure you do, just do your best to avoid touching it. Yeah, at the end of the day, Slay the Spire is a game where your RNG can determine, like, how easy or how difficult of a time you have. Like, sometimes you just lose and there's not really anything you could have done about it. Though that said, minimizing the impact of randomness is how you express skill in a game like that. Like, sometimes you end up in a situation that somebody else could have salvaged, but like, you can still have like an easier or a harder time. And the snake is dead. Yeah, the main roguelike that I play is Noita, and it's kind of the same way. Like, it feels unfair until you learn what you're doing, and then you realize that it's a lot more deterministic than you think it is. I can make it on my own, but you might not be up to it. Let's look for another way. Saber, do you think we can use the rubble over there? Right, leave it to me. You can use it as stepping stones to get across. And this is where I looked to begin with. That's funny. Oh, thank you for that advance. This is entirely covered in snake venom, eh? Don't try it, Iori. We need to look for another way. But I see a shiny saber. But this is the fastest way. Should we cross or should we go around? Well, as mentioned, I see a shiny, so... I wish that saber would call me stupid for that. Whoops, I forgot to switch to void stance. Oh well. That venom really does hurt. And it's dead. There he is, assassin. I'll hide in my spirit form. No dying now, Iori. I'm counting on you, Saber. I'm just imagining Miyazaki playing this game and salivating. How diverting. How delightful. Here I thought this would end quickly, but you remain a thorn in my side. Invidious, are you? Having to focus on me like this? Not at all. You are a truly fascinating girl. This binding spell you casted on me. I'm surprised managed to prepare such a spell without having me notice. Oh, testing you is well worth the effort. Hold. Assassin. What are you doing here? Those threatening Edo must be destroyed. That is all. Ha ha ha. Oh, do try. Try to stop me before I gobble up my master. Assassin? No, your true name is Kokusaburo, the man cursed by the god Ibuki. Let me bid farewell to you in my language. Eda. Kokusaburo, the founder of the Koga clan, the demon that returned from the underworld. I mean, being cursed seems to have been a straight upgrade. Since you're here, I may as well make yourself useful, Iori. Goes without saying. My whole body is shaking. Is this demon that powerful? Well, this is not a fair fight. I appear to have been poisoned. I wonder what purifying borage does. I'm not sure if that getting rid of all the poison was coincidence or if that's actually what it does. You know, I can probably actually check. Oh, it just increases the noble phantasm gauge. Seriously, I require your strongest spells.
時間だ。待たせたね。さあ、暴れのみ、頓食せよ。それ。メタボビグレッツ。
さすがに強い。さて、
こんな時間を楽しめる。侍というのはバイキングの覚悟ね。
Is your ears like, do I really look like I'm enjoying this? So yeah, once again alluding to the fact that Iori is kind of bloodthirsty. Our performance is coming to an end, Dorothea. I also noticed that his name is Day Form. Now. Ista. Oh, right, because no blade can hurt him. We need Saber Soul Phantasm. I like how it actually did just the normal gameplay animation of that. Very well done indeed, Princess. The rain clears. Assassin, did I pass your test? Was I the right master for you? Lady Dorothea? Stop, Miyamoto Yari. Do not say any more. You have no reason to pity me, nor to console me. Am I wrong? I may have been able to accomplish it on my own, but a debt is a debt. I will see it repaid. Was there anything else? No, nothing. Yori, we don't have time to rest. We must head to Kaniji as soon as possible. So, I have lost. I'll be waiting to hear the outcome of the ritual. Please do. Well then, excuse us. Make sure you win. Thank you. Ah, the joys of youth. Alright, time to take care of Tsuchimikado. Something's afoot in Kaniji. I can't tell what it is from here, though. Huh? It appears the field has been broken. The signs of the massive spell have also faded. Does that mean that somebody other than us took Tsuchimikado down? I'm unsure. We must go and ascertain that for ourselves. First take care of the spirit fonts, then hurry to Kaniji. Yeah, you can call me anytime. We're gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom, anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. Now, Lancer should have killed Tsujimikado at this point in time.
Iori.
Iori? Yeah, something's off. I sense no humans in the area. Where did Tsujimikado go? He died. Shosetsu. He died? Are you certain? Lying would gain me nothing. Seeing as you two are uninjured, I assume that assassin has been defeated. Yes, your advice was a great help. Thank you. It was simply recompense for rescuing me. More importantly, Yui, what happened to... I found him dead in the main hall when I arrived. I see. Was it a master? Or a rogue seeking revenge after regaining their faculties? Who performed the deed is of little consequence. What is important is that the ritual has lost both the observer and a master. You mean... Yes. According to the substitute observer, Tsujimikado was Caster's master. Meaning that, including myself, 4 masters remain. Prepare yourself, Miyamoto Iori. When next we meet, I will certainly defeat you. It sounds like Ryder must have returned to Shosetsu's side. Iori, we have no more business here. You're right, we're safe for now. Let's return to Asakusa. What a sad state of affairs. Even my lord turns out to be a villain. Sending me out with one little message at this hour, and with Edo so dangerous now? Hold. Oh, that's Caster. What is it? Where did you come from? Do you realize how pointless that question is? What a pain. And I only have so much time left. Well then. Maybe time for a bite? Oh, is he a vampire? What do you... Yeah, so casters typically have ways of bolstering their own mana, because masters usually can't supply enough mana to provide a caster with the mana that they need. So it is entirely possible that this guy's like a vampire. And he gets mana by, like, doing that to people. This house has always been too empty, but it feels even worse now. Drinking alone is no fun. Were I a poet, I could drink with the moon and shadows. You broke the bounded field to get here, didn't you? Don't hide. Come have a drink. Sneaking in like assassin wasn't a great idea. Vampires can't be servants, but all servants can be literal soul eaters to an extent. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you wouldn't be like a vampire. Especially because in this setting, vampires are nature spirits. It's weird. Sneaking in like assassin wasn't a great idea. Oh, is he gonna contract with him? Because he's a servant without a master, and then that's a master without a servant. They could form a contract with each other. Let's skip the boring pleasantries. Make a contract with me and enter the ritual again. You are not a rogue servant. Are you caster then? What happened to your master? He's dead. Does that mean you're about to fade away? Yes. Unless you make a contract with me, I will soon disappear, without even a trace. So, make the contract. This is your last chance to try for the waxing moon. Don't be foolish. I've already lost. A defeated general accepts his loss with grace. I see. I thought you would have taken any chance to save your people and me. Alas. I find you instead a disloyal retainer. Your lord must be turning in his grave. Chu Yizhan's final moments were agonizing, fasting until he withered away. Everyone, even the queen, took their own lives. Your mother, dead by her own sword. Why? Why were they unafraid of death? You must know the answer, Koshinga. It's because they placed their hopes in you, beloved son of Ming, who loved his people so. The Emperor loved you like a son, gave you his name, cared for you more than anyone. Yet when he died, you shed not a single tear. Why is that? You will never understand what His Majesty meant to me. We are finished. Will you leave or will you disappear where you stand? Your choice. Empty threats. You needn't lift a finger. I'll fade away as you stoically look on. My final counsel. As you are now, you have no chance. The meme will never return. You don't know unless you try. You can't win unless you fight. I am a caster, but I prefer to call myself a recorder. I could augur the future with my annals. You could call it the power of clairvoyance. Though not to perfection, my predictions are accurate. The future I see cannot be changed or overruled. You will never again regain what you lost. Your dream will never be realized. You were correct in seeking the waxing moon. A miracle is the only thing you can cling to. You knew this as well, didn't you? But you still needed to recover it. Did you not vow to see your wish fulfilled? Yes, you're right. I would do anything for Ming, for His Majesty. Even knowing my cup were filled with poison, I would drink it in a single gulp. This hectic day is finally over. Yori, I do hope you're able to rest well. The sky tonight, it somehow looks the same as that night. Past memories, deep desires, these things flow through the connection. And when one's consciousness is hazy, it may manifest as a dream. Will Saber see my past? Yes, in the worst case, everything you might have wanted to keep secret might leak through. That night, at the port town, after the boy was saved by a sword as majestic as the moon itself, he wished for nothing more than to surpass it, and so began training in earnest. If that boy were truly you, then, Yori, this desire you hold in your heart is not for peace to reign in Edo, but rather... I wonder why. The moon tonight seems so blindingly bright. Perhaps it's because I'm thinking of you as I gaze upon it. Yori, tonight too, If I could, with this... So Yui is going to try and bring the ritual to... Yui is going to try and bring the ritual to a conclusion. After ceaseless turmoil and untold sacrifice, Tsujimikado's plot ended, along with his life. However, a new spark ignites. Lives burn and the moon grows heavy. The ritual approaches its end. Tsujimikado has fallen. We also took care of a rogue without incident. Having come this far, all I can think of as... Yep, that is the same chicken as OT. Having come this far, all I can think of is... servants. Legendary heroes who all met such dramatic ends. Proud archer, who died to protect friends and innocent bystanders alike. Rogue berserker, a nigh indestructible mountain of a man who left with a smile. Assassin, who faced Lady Dorothea and then sank to the bottom of the sea. Eventually, this will all come to an end. I suppose no fight lasts forever. Whatever happens, one party emerges victorious and the bloodshed stops. And when the end comes, if I am left standing, if I manage to survive and claim victory, my peaceful slumbering days will return. Is he tempted to wish for an eternal war? What's with the long face? Yori? You just had breakfast. Are you still hungry? Kaya? Don't worry, I have plenty. I'm more concerned about you eating properly. I'm not a little kid anymore, so you don't have to fuss over me. I eat plenty. I'll be taller than you before you know it. Is that so? Eh? What? Why am I... Chivana? On that day, at that moment, I first knew real tears. I knew plenty, and I knew sorrow. I realized that sorrow was all I earned from killing them, the Takeru brothers, in those distant lands. And then my tears ran dry. Oh, dear wife of mine, never would I cry again. Or so I thought, until today. Why, Yori? Just thinking of how my days with you will come to an end, I get so... You see, we're mentally preparing to kill Iori. Still can't do anything else there, still can't do anything else here. Now you say I might want to save often, is that because... Why is that? Is there like a bunch of branching choices or something? There you are. Are you one of Lady Dorothea's men? She's dropped out of the ritual. So what business do you have with us? There is something I must tell you. Yui Shosetsu has obtained the Waxing Moon's vessel and will finalize the ritual with it. Waxing Moon's vessel? Yes. When servants summoned by the Waxing Moon are defeated, the vessel recovers their souls. The souls are a source of enormous magical energy, which is then stored in the vessel. Collecting enough souls will provide the magical energy necessary to grant any wish. Using the vessel, the Waxing Moon becomes a wish granter. Placed in a spirit font, the vessel can awaken the Waxing Moon and grant one's wish. My lady said to use the key, but I don't know what that entails. That's your plan, Shosetsu? To set up the vessel somewhere and awaken the Waxing Moon? But what is this key? Why are you telling us this, sir? It was my lady's wish. You would have me divulge everything to them. I cannot agree to this. Are these not the very people who obstructed your conquest? Yes, that's right. And they also showed me mercy. A genuine noblewoman like me, being defied by her own servant. Even in a foreign land, harming a town and its people by my blunder is a disgrace. How can I go home with my head held high without clearing my name? Besides, he... My lady? No, it's nothing. Now move, on the double. So it was her decision, eh? Yes, you should be grateful for my lady's benevolence. Yeah, you should be. Thank you for the kindness.
英月の器を
So Yui has the waxing moon's vessel. Then we have to go after them.
奴は一時
For a time, he established his new base at the Tsuchimikado residence. However,
つい宣告のこと
not long before now,
遅かったな
you're late. I'd nearly fallen into that Onmyoji's control.
まさか
Never thought I would hear you make jokes. You did put on quite the show, I'll admit.
傷の修復にも
It
かな
took
り
some
の
effort
手
to
間がか
recover.
かった
My magical energy was at its limit, albeit temporarily.
さすがは
I should have expected no less from the Mystic Slayer. I'm in awe of you, Ryder. Oh, please, my liege. This was all part of your plan, wasn't it? Otherwise, we'd never have gotten the best of Tsuchimikado.
何
Come now. I was merely following your lead and making a joke of my own.
何か言いたい
Is
こ
there
と
something
で
you wish to say? No, it's just that you weren't acting like your usual self.
私の冗談の話か
What, my joke? Perhaps I need more practice. Not that. Gaining to exchange words with an enemy. Don't tell me you started feeling attached to them. Eh,
貴殿
now
こ
you're the
そ
one acting unusual.
らしく敵は敵
Enemies are enemies. I would never allow myself to grow attached to them. But
幸運は
repaying a debt is only proper. Neglecting a debt runs counter to my principles.
幸運不義
Injustice, lawlessness, heartlessness, cruelty.
無残
These are what I fight to correct. Of course.
だが
But now that you mention it, maybe that group isn't so... Master?
いや
No,
Such
it's
that.
nothing. More importantly, look at this,
Koreo mio.
Ryder. The waxing moon's vessel.
そうだ
Yes, Tsuchimikado had it hidden
こ
away.
れなる器
The vessel, the
英
container
霊の
used to collect
魂
the
を
souls
回
of
収
heroic
する英
spirits.
月を用いるには必
I
要な
need
も
it
のだ
in order to use the waxing
手
moon.
元に置か
Without
ず
it
し
at
て何
hand,
とす
nothing
る
can proceed. What foreboding magical energy for a mere step in the process. This is the omnipotent wish granter. Imagine all the magical energy it could hold.
英月の儀陰陽道
The
ではあ
waxing
る
moon
まい
ritual must not be one of
神
Onmyodo.
に立てまつる気
There
配
is no hint of offerings
こ
made
れ
to the
魔
gods.
術基盤としては
The basis of its magecraft. Perhaps it's Western magic, or some fusion.
土見門
How did that Tsuchimikado manage to
いか
concoct
にし
something
て
like
かつ
this?
ての権勢を失ったと
They
聞
say
く
that
が
his clan lost their
世
former
には
power,
これほどの術
yet
式
he
を
was
組
able
み
to
上
put
げて
together
み
such a spell. I heard Tsuchimikado was a descendant of the Abe clan, so it's not so surprising. If Lord Sammy were here, it would have turned out much better.
ならば私がうまくやろう
Then I'll handle it as best I can. This is no
正し
mere
く使
trifle
わ
we're
れる
dealing
余
with.
人に渡すわ
We
けには
must
い
not
か
let
ない
this fall into anyone's
一
hands.
刻も早く
We must gather the souls of heroic spirits as soon as possible, or else... Oh, that sounds interesting.
それで
Go on. Or else what?
今さら何の用向きだ
What business could you still have with us now, Lord Chiemon?
貴殿らはいたずらに
Your
15
attack on
期
the
目を
15th
襲い
servant was in vain.
あろ
She
う
got
こと
away.
己が失態を分かっ
You
て
can
いるのか
recognize your own mistake, can't you? You wanted the girl as much as I did. And as for my business here, it should go without saying. Hand over the waxing moon's vessel, Yuisho Setsu.
貴殿こそ
No.
ランサー
You
の魂を
hand
差し
over
出して
Lancer's
去る
soul, then get out.
こ
I'll
こで
leave you
命
your
まで
life.
相違剣先生が守ら
I'd
んと
rather
した
finish this
民
without
に
having to kill one that Lord Suiken attempted to spare.
マスター
Master?
つまらん冗談
What a joke. What kind of fool would throw away their own wish?
よいライダー
Halt, Ryder.
ここは引く
We are leaving here.
貴
No need to
殿な
hurry.
らば
You can kill Lancer anytime. Understood.
では知恵門殿
So long for now, Lord
いずれランサー
Chiemon.
の魂
Lancer's soul will be ours eventually. Who do they think I am?
申し訳ありませんマスター
Forgive me, Master. I was waiting for the perfect opportunity, but
あれはお前に
no, you'd be no
立
match
ち
for
打
that
ち
thing.
相手では
A demon skulks within that armor.
化け物
A demon.
とはいえ
But that doesn't mean that I'm giving up, and neither are you, Lancer. Vengeance is mine, or so said the Lord. If he lacks the influence to get it done, then I'll just have to do it myself. I must report this immediately. What resides in the heart and no sympathy for the wicked? The gods stir to snake. I see that.
土御門康弘の作望によ
By
り
Tsujimikado
義は混迷を
Yashihiro's
極
design,
める
the ritual devolved into
その
chaos.
様をはため見て笑う
Watching
知恵
from
も
the sidelines, sneering all the
思
while
惑
was
渦巻
Chiemon.
き苛烈
As
さを
that
増す
clashing
に
of
あっ
wills
て
reaches a fever pitch,
彼もまた
his twisted desire
修
for
羅の猛
carnage
襲を
grows
深め
stronger
つつあ
still.
った
Well,
マスターの見立て通りです
as you suspected, Saber and the others are after Tsujimikado and Kaneshi. They are, eh? Well, that works for us. Let Saber and Tsujimikado tussle to their heart's content. But you, Miyamoto Iori, are different. I'm sure he's still beating his breast over all the bloodshed and all this ritual causes. Are you content to wear a mask of virtue? Do you think me blind to the fire in your eyes? That disguise disgusts me. It's time to pull that rotting mask off. Miyamoto Iori, I'll butcher you myself. Let's go, Lancer. To be fair, most people aren't privy to Iori's innermost thoughts. Kiemon just detects that they're using the same brain cell. Thank you for saving me. Get lost. I'm sorry. I don't see anyone around. The virtuoso observer probably has something to do with this. This destruction, not bad. I sense powerful magical energy ahead. Master, should we find another? You think we have time for that? We keep going. As I suspected, it is a trap. Then... Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? You need not trouble yourself with this, Master. Leave this to me. Here he is. Oh boy, more fish foxes. Yeah, if this is an attempt at depicting Kuda Kitsune, I feel like they missed the mark. We're just having roast fish, that's all. He had his fit. There's no end to them, but I must not trouble Master with such trifles. What's taking you so long, Lancer? I didn't even ask for your help, and now look at this damn mess. We finish this now. Not sure where that popped up. My thumb was not on the D-pad. Oh true, she might have a thing that, There we go, yeah, good call. A fair number of servants seem to have an ability like that, and by a fair number I mean here in Circe. Like 2 is more than 1. Lancer, what do you think you're doing? Why are you trying to protect me so much? I believe it is only natural for a servant to protect their master. There's such a thing as going too far. Do I seem so frail to you? Compared to heroic spirits, yes. There's little I could do if you were injured. Why? Why does everyone feel the need to protect me? The Lord has forsaken me and I'm bound for hell. There is no reason to protect me. So why do you persist, Lancer? Master, if you mean to say that the Lord does not love you and offers you no salvation, Then I shall love you instead. Even if I cannot save you, I can at least descend into the depths of hell with you. This is why I can't stand messengers of God. Listen to me, Lancer. You will never show me affection again. There's nothing as suffocating as compassion. Just focus on opening the gates to hell. Yes, Master. Long time no see, Archer. It's been a while since we last spoke like this. Yes, it has. For some time, my sight had been breached after all. As a result, I drew my bow against the friend. I am ashamed. Don't worry, I know you didn't mean to. By the way, Rogue Archer, did you need to ask Iori something? I did. Allow me to speak candidly. Miyamoto Iori, I want you to fight me again. May I ask why? When we fought at Kanagawa Port, in the depths of my consciousness I could feel it. I could feel the change in your swords. It was like waking from a deep slumber, like beautiful wings sprouting from a chrysalis. So much sharper and quicker than when we first met. I would like to face those swords again before the ritual has concluded. To face you as a Kshatriya who has lived through a war-torn era. I understand. Let's do it, Archer. Words alone cannot express my gratitude. We will face each other earnestly, holding nothing back. Prepare yourself. Hey, combo, nerd. You have grown strong, Miyamoto Iori. Far stronger than when we first met. Thus, I will not hesitate. I will use everything this spirit origin can offer.
雨返し食らうがいい火の型
弱い合図をくれより
甘い食らうがいい
無駄だ隙を見せたな畳みかけろ
朽ち果てよ
任せろ
面白いその刃アクルルスさん
Show me how deeply that blade thirsts for blood.
私に見せてください
任せろ
その力空の型
I acknowledge your strength. You've done well against their heroic spirit.
英霊を相手によくぞ
Huh, I see.
宮本より
You are strong, Miyamoto
あなたは
Yori.
強き者
The
だ
skill of your swords is
そ
admirable.
の貴殿ほどの英霊に
That
そう
means a
言わ
lot
れる
coming
と
from a
は
heroic spirit like you.
さて
Well then,
命のやりとりでこそ
though
あ
we
り
did
ませ
not
ん
fight to the
が
death, you have defeated me
あなたは
nonetheless.
これは何か
You must be rewarded for your
本
valor.
とはいえ
But what can
あ
I
なた
give
に
you?
は何を授けたもの
Huh,
か
until now I've only been on the receiving end.
ならば技の一
You
つで
should
も
teach me a
授けてや
technique.
るといい
That would make Yori happier than some random gift.
なるほど
I see. That's
な
my
か
good
なか良
idea.
い考えです
Allow me to show you a technique of mine.
嬉しい申し出だが
I'm flattered by the offer, but is it alright to give it away so freely?
え
Yes,
この程
there
度
is
の
no
も
need to
のならば
withhold
いく
something
らで
like
も
this.
今のあなたならば
I have no doubt that you will master its use. This technique will help you secure
この
victory.
ありがとうアーチャー
Thank you, Archer. I promise to make good use of it.
アルジュナ
Please, call me Arjuna.
アルジュナ
Arjuna? Is that your true name?
はい
Yes.
深い
I
友誼
revealed
を
it
結
to you
んだ
as a
あな
sign
た
of our
に
deep
だから
friendship.
どうか
Please do not tell it to anyone
無
else.
論だ
Of course.
どうした
What's
あ
wrong?
なたは
You are quite a
不思議な
mysterious
人です
person.
ね
I felt it when we fought.
今私と相対しているあな
The
た
you
こ
that
そが
stands before me should be
私
familiar,
の
and
よく知
yet
あなたの中にはもう
it's
一
as if
人
there's another you hidden away
別
inside.
の
Another me.
ええその
Yes,
笑
he
顔の
watches
奥
me
で
with
私
blazing
を見
eyes
つ
from
め
behind that smile.
あ
Ah, I
だ
see
から
now.
こそ
Perhaps that's the reason I first took interest in you.
アーチャー
Archer?
いえ
No,
互いのため
let's
に
not
も
pursue this any further for both of our sakes. Please forget what I said. It was nothing more than a moment's
い
fancy.
やいいんだ
Sure, okay.
では改めて
Now then, allow me to
こ
aid in
の
your victory
主な
once
どう
again.
か
You are my
これからも
sole
よろ
friend
し
in
くお
this
願い
world.
します
Let us continue working together. Yeah, they're definitely going for something like Shura from Sekiro. Ashupata. This light devastates and then liberates the soul from suffering. The explosion of the luminescent sphere returns all to nothing.
いい調子だ
Unleashes a fiery slashing wave. Interesting. I prefer, I think I still prefer, Berserkers, though. Just hit them really, really hard with the sword. You don't need anything else.
人や
Thank you for the head pats. Just double checking. Gonna leave early and go start a fire, have fun? Me too. Have fun burning things.
Yori あれ
頼むセイバー
任せ
Saber can go. This way, and Iori will go this way. I'm on board with where Saber's going. I can just have Saber intercept that. I gotta... No, I won't have Affinity because I need 2 to summon Arya. That's bothersome. I was gonna say I can just have Saber handle this. I suppose we're an option, but it's... I'd rather just go handle it. Then some random-ass swordsman actually got Iori. But I lived. And now I'm back at full health without having to spend anything. I have much to learn of the way of 2 swords. Yeah. Yeah, Saber can go that way. And he's dead. Wonderful. I like it when they die. Saber can go that way, and Iori will go this way. And they're dead. But there's more to come, no doubt.
火の型受けてみろ二点の道未だ半ば
With the fox cheering you on, you can do anything.
お任せください。
Sadly, now she is cheering me on, but not in person, which is somehow more effective.
Saber.
Not gonna lie, I didn't even see that guy. Saber, go there. I kind of want to take over this whole bit here. Easiest way to do that would be to reach Circe and then just send her up while I come back over.
始まった。どうした？空の型だ。
It amuses me slightly that my health is exactly 2,000. It's always fun when numbers end up on clean numbers like that. Now Saber can come back this way. wonder how many of like the human enemies we could just talk to. Like shoot a fireball, be like, hey listen, I'm a magician. You're tied up in something that like you're really in over your head. Just leave. Go to bed. Maybe call me a saint? No, that's what I say though. That's why you like shoot out a little bit of flame or something. Like prove that you actually can do magic. And then be like, listen. This will be your face. Or you could go home. More rabble, Saber says, and then they use their noble phantasm. Arbitrix, if they're that determined to die, I won't stop them. But I mean, like, just giving them the option to live. And it's dead. You can have it. Seriously, can go there. Oh no, reinforcements. Anyway. Alright, Saber, come back. That said, we're going to call it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Wednesday. The game is going to be Yoshi's Island. The next time that I'm playing this game in particular is going to be on Friday. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I hope to see you again. Good night.